Filmmakers are turning to the city of Troy once again, using it as a backdrop for a new documentary. But this one has a very different subject matter. A woman who ran a brothel, and it's being shot by two women who went to college in Troy. News 10.
I was born in Troy in 1919. He would bring her, wait for her, and take her away. I never knew where her houses were. Like I knew Mame Faye's were over on 6th Avenue. And then the younger generation were in what they called Kieran's Alley. That was between...
You date people too. As a matter of fact, it was only $2 for the session, let's put it that way. You did have a lot of clientele, politicians and boys coming up from New York, and judges naturally. And in 1938, when the administration changed, and they thought they were going to, all the files were going to come out and cause a scandal, City Hall was burned down. Maybe who she paid off and all that, and actually the cops were all paid off and all that. So which goes on in New York City to this day.
I think it would be from the take of the urban legend. I just can't imagine that this hasn't grown more from the stories of young men on their first time away from home, and they're telling us whether they ever participated or not. And my guess is that most of them probably didn't. You know, they were way too young and too feeling inexperienced to ever participate in something like that, but they could spread a story, and who's going to stop them? You know, you have kids that come in from Georgia and are going on their way through Troy to something, and you know, what, somebody's going to check up on this, so they didn't go to Mame Faye, so they all knew the story, but, and I think it just makes, and their stories can make a legend grow and grow. It's not very unlike Uncle Sam's legend, you know, his story, you know, that the soldiers said his beef was packed in the best barrels, and here comes Uncle Sam, and those soldier stories, again, they're young men, and they tell these, you know, these sitting around the fire stories, and they just grow and grow and grow. And you know, Mame Faye's probably grew and grew and grew, you know. It would be great to see a photograph of her, though. You know, it's funny, because I think as we sit downstairs, I always have this image of Mame Faye as the Belle Watling of Troy, you know, from Gone with the Wind, you know, this madam that all the respectable men in the community, you know, went to her bordello, and you know, see always, and you get the allusions to that in Norma's comments and John Scanlon's article about, you know, that she was connected well with the politicians of the city. Maybe they didn't participate, but you know, they certainly turned the other eye, and maybe she was supporting their campaigns or something like that. I just think it's, you know, would be.
Your wife's coming out behind you, you know. She's all right with it. Ernie's wife, Josie, actually grew up in Norfolk, Virginia. She says that even they in Norfolk knew about Mame Faye because there were lots of sailors down there. Anyway, Mame Faye died in 1943 with $256,000 in the bank. That would have been the equivalent today of about $3 million. No word yet on when the film is due out, and try as we might, through the vast resources of News 10, we could not find a picture of Mame Faye. Live in the newsroom, John Craig, News 10.